All right. Aloha, everyone. Michelle with Blossom Inner Wellness and StandTogetherHawaii.com. And I am so excited about interviewing Robert today. He has been, most of his life, he's been a botanist. For 48 years, he's been studying plants and trees. And I'm going to actually let him give you his background. But we're going to be talking about, he's also been studying, how many locations have you gone to or pictures have you studied over the past, what is it, 7 years? You gave a number when I
Yeah,
saw your interview last.
I've been to 38 fire aftermaths, mostly in California, a few in Southern Oregon, and taken 107 trips to all of them. So I've done a lot of footwork collecting evidence at every site, except perhaps three that I deemed were normal forest fires that we know of. All the rest were
So,
something else.
wow. So yeah, something else. So Robert, just share a little bit more about your background and we'll just start from there.
Well, I started learning plants in the late 60s from my mom. And when I turned 15, I had horticulture classes and forestry classes in high school. And I've never stopped learning about the plant kingdom. 48 years now of learning trees, shrubs, vines, wildflowers, and ferns, mostly California natives, but many imported around the world to our residential homes. And I think before I left high school, I knew every tree in California, which
Wow.
isn't all that hard. And then became an arborist for 20 years and let that lapse because I was going beyond some of the areas they wanted to talk about, and reclassified myself with my own term, forensic arborist, because that's what I feel I am now. I've been to 38 aftermaths, like I said, and 107 trips to all these in the last 7 years. And somewhere along the line, I was designing a hike up north in Santa Rosa, maybe an hour away. And some pictures came up on the internet that didn't compute to me. And when I share my screen here, I'm going to show you some of those.
So that was
Right,
about 7 years ago.
seven
You
years ago.
saw you saw a fire and you're just like, what? That doesn't look normal. So just go ahead. Go, yeah, share your screen.
And
And as you do that, I'm gonna shut this glass door for sound, but keep going.
okay. What I saw was something that didn't make sense to me. I saw this picture of Santa Rosa, California. This came up on my computer screen because I'm looking for hikes and waterfalls and such. And this came up, and yeah, all the houses are missing their white ash, but what are all the trees doing there? Many of these are pines and eucalyptus and very flammable leaves. It just made no sense to me. I've got a background of cooking on campfires for my entire adult life, from sea level to 12, 13,000 feet in the Sierra. I've burned everything, and everything burns in a tiny campfire. And this is a horrific firestorm, they said. Why are all the trees still there? So it didn't work well for me. And I waited a couple months and I went up there after things died down, and I analyzed every street I could for 8 hours. Nothing, I mean, nothing added up. I've never seen anything like in my life. I was completely baffled. And we'll get into the materials and the fine tuning of this in a minute here. But when I see forest fires, the trees are burned up, the needles are gone, the twigs are gone, many of the branches are gone. Sometimes the trunk is burned down halfway or all the way to a low stump, and even holes in the ground. That's the way they burn. No exception. They don't leave their needles on there. With their needles on there, how do we even call it a fire, a forest fire? The forest didn't burn. So I saw that, and shortly after my journey, I saw this picture on the internet from a drone, possibly, and I see these buildings, a Jack in the Box, McDonald's, and a gas station, and they're just completely burned, leaving only metals and stone. But what I see is the trees. All three species here are in the poison oak family: Chinese pistache or pistachio, African sumac, and Brazilian pepper. I'm sorry, Peruvian pepper, which is now called California pepper. All of them did not burn. And how did a fire cross a freeway? This is Highway 101 in the Santa Rosa area. You got 200 yards of no trees before you get to these buildings, but yet they burned and nothing else. And anybody who's gone to a fast food, you notice there's no wood showing. It's all plastics and metals and slate and terracotta and newer building materials. Fires don't just start on these types of buildings, but yet there's the pictures. Even with the ambient heat from these buildings, it didn't do much to the trees. A few are brown, but I cannot say the trees burned up. And this happened again and again and again. And so I started analyzing fires everywhere. And somewhere along the line, I finally found a YouTube video of John Lord and Matt Dakin, who analyzed Paradise, California on 3 different occasions.
And who are they?
They're both 30-year fire captains, one out of Petaluma and one out of San Ramon. They were good friends, and they saw what I saw. They did 5 good videos with Shelley. You can find them on YouTube. And they saw all the anomalies that I saw. So I left them a message on YouTube. They got back to me, and we got together and showed them all my work, and they said I was exactly right. And then over the last 4 or 5 years now, I've been educating them on what trees actually grow in California, which ones burns and which ones don't. Sadly, a year and a half ago, we lost John. He died of different types of problems. But they gave me a good start and introduced me to a lot of folks that know what's going on in these fire scenarios. So
what do you think is going on in these fire scenarios,
well,
when firefighters or captains are questioning things just the same as you are?
Yeah, when they get out and question them, not many of them, I think, will speak up.
Yeah.
Because they're afraid of retribution somehow, either getting fired or something worse. Many of the top fire people know exactly what's going on. When you don't see the forest burn, but yet houses are, and some of these materials don't burn, you have to ask your question, what is going on here? And many of the fire captains and other workers have said, we've never seen fires like this, or the fires were so hot we couldn't even get close to them to put them out. And they were also very hard to put out. And so over the years, I've come to different conclusions. I believe most of these fires are microwave based. They're not normal wood fires that we know of. And I'll get into that later here.
Okay, thank you.
Many materials will not burn. And I have a saying I made up. All the materials that didn't burn should have, and all the materials that did burn shouldn't have.
That's true.
And I want to start on, this is in Maui now. I've taken some of the pictures off the internet here. So none of these Maui pictures are mine. And I'm going to expand on every one of these pictures. And this is the same stuff exactly that I've seen in California. No different, all the same fire footprints, things that don't make sense. Here, a home's on fire and nothing else. And I believe that's because of all the metals, whether they're ferrous or non-ferrous, that are in a house. These things get hit, they burn, and it's rare to see a tree burn or any plant unless it's in very close proximity to the house. And I mean 10 or 15 feet. So this is common now. Here you have, it looks like a grove of eucalyptus trees. I'm not positive on the species. The whole left, they didn't burn. Meanwhile, the house is just gone. The cars, they all look like this. They'll be dented up. The windows will be melted out. Now, the auto glass melts approximately at 2,500 degrees.
Whoa.
Forest fires don't get that hot. It's full-fledged forest fire goes up to 1,400.
Yeah, I was just going to say 1,400.
And
wow. And also the wheels are melted.
Yeah, I'm getting to that. And unless you're adding different accelerants or really burning some hot wood, you're not getting above those temperatures. Perhaps here and there you would, but it would not melt these windows. You notice the doorknobs are always gone. The rims, if they're an alloy or an aluminum, they melt out at 1,221 degrees. That doesn't happen. Your fires on the ground that are in the grass, if they're a couple inches off the ground, they're only 300 degrees. The 2 fire captains educated me on that. They never see rims melted out in a combined 60 years of service. Sometimes they'd get to a car late in the day because they were busy and the car fire was already out. The rims still didn't melt out. Yet, I've seen a good between 600 and 800 vehicles. If the rims are aluminum or alloys, they're always melted out, either in chunks like this one or in flowing aluminum puddles that flow away like a river away from the vehicle. Windows and rims always gone unless they're metal rims. Let's see. So look at your organic matter. What kind of forest fire forgot all the trees? It's
And
working.
you said something about the eucalyptus before we
Yeah,
started.
eucalyptus is one of the most flammable or combustible leaves I know of. Here in the States, California, we have many species. And the blue gum is the one I see the most. I can pull the leaves off the tree, green, take a cigarette lighter and light them on fire every time. And they burn pretty
Wow.
quick. If you put them in a small campfire, you better back up. These things, the oils in them are very flammable. And also your California bay tree, which is in your laurel family, along with camphor trees and avocado trees and many others. The California bay tree has a ton of oils. When I'm camping in the Bay Area, these are different parks, and I can hardly see my campsite, and I want to find my way back to my tent. I grab some of those leaves, put them in my little campfire. Instantly, I've got big flames everywhere. In 7 years now, I've not seen one leaf of either species burn, any eucalyptus species and any of the California bay leaves. Even when the leaves are hanging down on the ground where the fire is, they're not igniting.
Oh my
How,
gosh. So I'm curious about that because you said microwave waves to create fire creates such a hot fire. That's so interesting of why they wouldn't burn, but that's a whole different topic.
I
Go ahead and keep going.
all I can say is they don't recognize the organics, even though they're super hot. They seem to be much hotter than our regular wood fires, but for whatever reason, they're not recognizing organics. They turn everything brown. They suck the water out of it like it's in a microwave oven in your kitchen, leave them brown
Yeah.
or a light shade of green, but it will not ignite them unless they're in close proximity to metals. Or
You're talking about the fire. The
that's right.
fire doesn't recognize
That's right.
the eucalyptus organism, oh
Right.
my gosh, the organics of that
Yeah.
organism. Wow.
It has to be in close proximity to your metals, whether they're ferrous or non-ferrous, like aluminum, or creeks and water. And I heard along the shore here, the water was on fire, and they made up a lame excuse that there's oil and diesel and all that. No, the water itself was on fire, and I haven't seen pictures of it, but I've already heard that. So your creek beds around here in California, I've noticed all the creek or water-loving trees have burned from the inside out.
Yeah.
Cooked like in a microwave. And these are willows, cottonwoods, alder, birch, maple, madrone, and many others that really want to be close to a creek. Not one leaf will be burned on them, even when the leaves are on the ground, but they'll cook from the inside out where the highest water amount of holding capacity would be. Pines and more flammable trees are doing the same, but at a slower rate, even though the sap in many pines is more combustible than the water lovers by far. They're kind of last to burn. The needles will be brown everywhere, but they're not burned up. Wrong picture there. Okay. There it is. Here you look at all the houses. They're white ash. Where's the black? Where's the carbon? It's rare I see black. So you're thinking intense heat. Well, why are all the trees still there? They're a little thin, cooked again.
Wow.
I'm sure every one of them's dead. Perhaps some of the palm trees will come back. A palm tree is easy to light on fire. We've had a few car fires around here on the freeway or in a residential under a palm tree. They burn up in a second. They're like grass. They're thin with a little bit of dead fronds on them. They'll burn in seconds. Yet I look at them, they're kind of super wilted. They turn black, which I see that often. There's a black color to all these dead trees. Leaves are black like a slow cooked marshmallow on your fire. It's kind of turning brown and dark black. And then if it doesn't ignite, these leaves just kind of wilt and turn dark colors. Another anomaly. They should all have been gone. With this kind of heat, everything should have been gone. Should have been stumps of trees. That didn't happen.
And it should be black, not white.
That's right. Out of these 38 aftermaths I've been, 35 of them I deem were unnatural fires. Every house I've seen burn up, all of them have been burned to the ground, white ash. I have not seen much of any black anywhere. Once in a while, a 4x4 or something that's black, but they're all white ash, leaving walls, brickwork, stone, and metals. Everything else is completely gone.
Yeah, the toilet, the fridge, the stove, which I've seen, houses in a wildfire, and the stove is there. It doesn't go to ash.
That's right. Dang it, that didn't come out either. This is the giant banyan tree I've heard about.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Hopefully I've got another here you have a fire all the way around it. Even the boats were on fire. Yet the banyan tree's dead. It looks like, but it didn't burn up. I've got it,
Yeah.
here it is here. After the fire, I see leaves everywhere and all the aerial roots coming down. They look kind of sagging and black, not necessarily burned up. And here's a wood pole to your left, whether it's a splint or I think there's lights on it. It was so hot
Oh,
it
yeah.
forgot to burn the wood.
Forgot. Yeah.
Dry wood. Dead trees I've noticed that are dead before the fires, they're not burning. There's no moisture in them. And they should have
Oh
burned, of
my
course.
gosh.
So here's your wood 4x4. Didn't burn at all. It's doubtful this tree is going to grow back. I hope it does. I know there's an arborist over there looking at it, but if it's cooked from the inside out, it will not regenerate. And this is a ficus. You cut a ficus down, it grows back. Any fig tree, this is the way they're constructed. They're weeds. All the ficus are weeds. And here with your great soils and rainfall, it should sprout right back. But and I'm hoping it does, but I fear it probably won't. Yeah, here's a Jeep, I guess. Fires
Wow.
don't do this. The whole hood, it got so hot, the metal hood melted out. That's pushing 2,750 degrees. And the rims
Wow.
have melted out in the street. What kept the aluminum melting 5 feet from the Jeep? There's no firewood there. There's no flames
Oh
on
my
the
God.
asphalt, yet it keeps flowing. They're completely gutted. Windows, wheels. This is common every fire aftermath I've gone to. I want to say this is impossible, but the two fire captains I know of, they say they've never seen vehicles in their whole career like this. Windows are never melted. They might break. They don't even sag. They break or shatter or fall out, but they don't melt. That's 2,500 degrees and up. They start to melt at 25, but to get them to really flow and fall down, you're going to add another 100 degrees or more.
Mhm.
So what could do that? You don't have enough fuel in this Jeep. And I don't mean gasoline. I mean the fuels, the plastics, the seats, the cushions. All that isn't enough to get this kind of burn. And they always say that. There's just no way this could happen. Not every single car I've seen in 7 years. No
Wow.
exceptions. That's the thing. No exceptions. If it happened to one, okay, that's an anomaly. But every single vehicle,
Yeah.
here you go with the eucalyptus, and there's some pines on the left also. House is missing, or a metal shop, whatever it is. I see dead trees, but a firestorm would have left sticks. There'd be no leaves on it. That's your fire, the leaves, like in California. Amazing
Wow.
what is going on. I just got these today. Here's some nice trees here. They're probably dead. And there's your cars, same old scenario. It's the same wherever I go.
So I have a question about the microwave energy.
Yep.
Um, have you looked into, like, I know that we've had direct energy weapons. Tesla founded the direct energy beam actually in the 1930s, right before he died when he was 80 years old. And we actually have a direct energy weapons act, and I think it was the act of 1976, I think it was. And but so there was actually a direct energy weapons, for lack of a better word, lab facility on Maui, which there's
Wow.
only two in the United States. One is in Nevada and one is in Maui. Have you researched the microwave energy?
Not entirely. I've read stuff, I've watched videos. Of course, they've got their trillion-watt lasers, things like that. They always act like we don't have that technology yet, but we're working on it. Well,
Yeah,
they're
they have
20,
it.
30, 40 years ahead of us, and they're just lying. Of course, they've got it. This stuff, and this isn't happening from 5G or a plane passing over. We actually think, which sounds very far-fetched, we think they're coming from satellites because it's concentrated on an area for hours. Planes fly back and forth, and you wouldn't be able to hit at these angles. We don't think little drones are doing it, but I'm not ruling out any possibility. Matt, John, and I actually figured they're coming from satellites. When I was in my 20s, we had a president that was on national TV. He tells the world we're developing our Star Wars defense system. This is back in
Mm.
the 80s. Worst
I
president in
remember.
US history. He said that and we all laughed at him. We're not laughing anymore. They've been working on
Yeah,
this for a long time, just like 9/11. The buildings didn't burn up and fall down. They disintegrated in midair. A
yeah.
technology so advanced we can't even comprehend it. And this is the same or very similar technology. The cars look the same as that day on 9/11. No different.
Mhm.
And like I said, every vehicle I've seen in 7 years looks like this. No exceptions.
Wow. What did the fire chiefs, the fire captains, what did they say about the microwave energy? Did they say anything else about?
Um, a lot over the years. I guess I've known them
Yeah.
both for 5 years. And they did a lot of research. I've taken both of them to fire aftermath, and also the great Deborah Travaris. She happens to be a friend now, and I've taken her to analyze fire aftermath. Um, uh, Mostly I do the education on the plant side of it, and even the windows and metals. I've just got on the computer and did my own research to have those numbers. But they saw it. The two firemen saw it, and they have a lot to say about all these houses and cars, and also what's going on shortly after the fire's out.
Hmm.
Immediately, the big corporations jump in there, kind of a disaster capitalism effect, if you will. They repair the roads right away. They put in brand new telephone poles as fast as they can. They dig up the road and put in new culvert pipes that go under the road because they're metal. And I've got pictures of that in another preview. And they're replacing them with plastic pipes under the road. Now, normal
Wow.
forest fires wouldn't affect a metal pipe 3 to 6 or 10 feet underground, but maybe with these weapons they do, and they don't want the road to collapse. So, four or five different aftermaths, I've been looking for those, and sure enough, where the fire crossed the road, they pulled every pipe out, no matter what depth, and replaced them with either plastic or poured a cement one, but never
Yeah.
putting metal back. And that's right here at Big Basin State Park, where all the redwoods were in California, where they closed the park for 2 years and they replaced these pipes. So a lot stood out, and Mike and John have given me a lot of. I mean, Matt and John have given me a lot of ideas when I go out in the field, and I'd call them a lot and tell them what I've found. And a good little group of us, the three of us working together. A
Wow.
wealth of information those two fire captains have. They know the track record of what cars look like, and what they don't look like. 60 years combined service, fire captains.
Wow.
So you look at this photo, and here's your palm trees.
I know I was gonna just,
Why didn't all the leaves burn off in a microsecond? Show you what
yeah.
one cigarette lighter can do to a dead frond. Even the green ones, you got giant flames, they burn up. These
Yeah.
buildings were burning for hours. The leaves on these things didn't burn. In the
Yeah,
background,
we have fires here. Like we'll have a bonfire at my place, and we have palm fronds that we throw in, and it's just like whoosh,
yeah,
you know.
there's no exception.
Yeah.
If some of these are blurry, I'm just borrowing these from the internet. To me, this was a was a kill city, my own term.
Gosh dang it.
They weren't letting people out of the city. They were making you stay there. That's your police department. The firemen didn't show up, or very few did. They turned the cell phones off, I hear, for the town.
Yep.
They
They
also
did.
turned the water off in the town. This was
Yep.
planned, who knows, 6 months or a year before. And all these larger entities are told or in on it to some degree. They're told what to do. Even your people in office that
Oh,
are in charge
absolutely.
of the island, if there's a good guy, they're not at their levels. All these people have a lot of evil in them.
Yeah, the governor actually he put out an emergency proclamation with no emergency 3 weeks before the fire, and he suspended seven laws that affect housing and land development. And now, yesterday, they were just in Oahu, so they weren't even on Maui, and they had a meeting with it looked like 20 to 25 people of unelected officials. The only elected official was the governor, and this is a meeting they were talking about Maui, and with the no sunshine law, which means it's people cannot bring testimony and they can't testify and say what they want. It's atrocious what they're doing.
Yeah, they make up the rules as they go along. This is nothing more than the billionaires club getting together and orchestrating destruction of the common people wherever they are. If they want something, they've got a weapon now that's so unimaginable. They can do whatever they want. They control every news outlet. And I
Hmm.
heard on Maui, you have the largest military base of the Hawaiian Islands. I don't know if that's true.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
there's no stopping them as far as anything, in that area. They tell the military, any branch, they tell them exactly what to do. And this is worldwide. And your military personnel are just used to saying yes sir and
Yes.
following orders no matter what. They don't want them to think on their own and have a heart and some empathy and, you know, think for themselves. So it's just really hard to stop this. I know the whole Hawaiian people are really mad and they want to do something. I really don't know where to start. Get it out to the whole world, show all the information, show anomalies like I do that should have never happened, and talk about the whole infrastructure being shut down. And all the kids, of course, and older.
Oh my God.
There's so many
Yeah.
categories. We hold all the evidence, but they hold all the cards. That's the hard part. They won't let us get on the media, on TV, and show stuff like this and talk about it. I could never get on the TV, you know, any of the 6 media giants in America. No. The truth will never get out unless we get it out like this with our cell phones, with Zoom calls, little meetings all over the planet, and educate everybody. That's the only way we're going to get to them, and it's a tough call.
Yeah, and I'm wondering. Oh, go ahead.
More of the same. This rim is chunked out. Some will be aluminum flowing like the back, and some of the fronts will just break off. And I don't have a reasoning why they come out like that. Perhaps that's the alloy. I don't know. Every vehicle looks the same, no exception. Now I wanted to put some boats in there because I heard all the boats, even anchored out in the harbor, they burned up. One of them had a glass bottom boat. What's the fire doing 80 or 100 feet out in the water burning up? Don't tell me the flying embers in America here on the mainland. The 6 media giants always say, well, the flying embers, they get under the eaves. Every station I've noticed, the flying embers get under the eaves. Really? So an ember is like from a volcano. It's heavy. These aren't little brown bags that are on fire that are floating through the air all the way out there and burn that thing up completely. I'd say it's impossible, but there's the picture. And another boat in the background. This doesn't happen. And this also happened at the car fire in Redding, California, a lake called Whiskey Town. All the boats in the harbor burned up.
Oh my gosh, I know Whiskey Town.
The docks were burned up.
Oh my goodness.
There's the other boat, the Roxy. What can do that? What flies out there and does that kind of damage? Even if a little flame did get out there, it's just not going to do that.
It's not going to melt metal like that.
Here's your windows and rims again, and there's trees in the background. It's the same thing wherever I go. There's a nice clear picture. This looks like the place burned up for hours and hours. And there's some things I want folks to look for. I believe they have some type of trash service. So you've got plastic bins that roll around and you put them in the street and the garbage truck gets them. I've noticed those are all left alone in place, or they're taken away shortly before the fires or right after, before they let the public back. They get rid of evidence. They say it's for your safety. There's got to be truckloads of these plastic containers going out. I've never seen a melted puddle of the plastic, and we've all burned plastic as a kid. You have a plastic pool on the ground. I've not seen that in 107 trips. When I do see a garbage can, it's unaffected or partially melted if there's if it's standing next to something metal. It could be one nail. That nail gets so hot it'll put a big dent or melted spot in the plastic garbage can. So there's got to be empty trucks that come in there, and they're coming out filled with evidence to me: plastics, paper, synthetics, all kinds of stuff, rubber from garden hoses, all that they're clearing out. Now it has to go to the local dump somewhere. So if people stayed on hilltops, watched them go by, took pictures, follow them to the dumps, see what they're dumping. They're eliminating evidence, and they're doing this everywhere. When I get there, I find it all. They can't hide anything from my eyes.
That's awesome.
This is a nasty picture. It's just unbelievable. And there's a tree to your right. I can't tell.
A big one.
Yeah, no, the twigs would burn right behind the leaves. They didn't. Hanging over 2 houses. Oh my God. Here's your trees in the background. No, it's the same old thing. Everywhere.
So what's happening is the insurance is refusing to pay because it's a natural fire. But one of my goals with this video is to tell people, to tell Lahaina, get a prosecutor, find an investigator. If we can prove that this is not natural, then maybe the insurance companies will turn it over and they'll have to pay, and we can change this. And also the fact that this is an occupied territory and not a state, and that's a whole nother story with that. But I'm just curious. I mean, I know that a lot of people don't even believe in direct energy weapons because they don't understand how long this has been going on for, and that we are truly at a war, and they are murdering our children, our keiki, our ohana. And it's like, when do we fight back? I know it's a lot, and especially for Lahaina people, they've lost everything. But I'm just curious if there's any investigator out there, any attorney that would even touch this with the 10-foot pole.
I got a feeling it's very few, if any, because they will be approached by the dark ones and told to stand down and go away, paid off or something worse. And whenever I talk to firemen here in California, none of them can answer my plant questions. None of them. I don't care if they're an investigator. And here they grab somebody that's watching the fire from a distance, and they quickly grab them, put them in jail, and pin it on people that could not started these fires in their wildest dreams. No way. And I've talked to a few of the lawyers. They kind of disregard me, and they get some plea bargain where the person's going to stay in jail for so many years and fine them. And like, they didn't even start the fire. And that's CAL FIRE investigators and the local sheriff to whichever community it may be in. But this isn't isolated. They're doing this around the planet.
Yeah.
Paradise
Canada's burning down.
15,000 homes. Santa Rosa.
Yeah, I was up there.
700 homes. Redding was 1,500. I've got a chart full of cities in California with the house counts every year. We've never seen house counts like this. You might burn a cabin out in the woods or a small tract, but you don't burn a downtown main area. That doesn't happen. One statistic is my own. Backpacking and climbing over 130 mountains in my lifetime. I've been to every forest zone in the state of California. In all those years, except for the last 7, I've backpacked all summer, thousands of miles on my feet. And the forest fires I've seen where I don't want to take a picture of the nice mountain scenery, in all those years, there's only been 3. And in the last 7 years, we have 10 in the Sierra every year, and they're horrific, from 500,000 acres to 1 million acres, and tons of houses just missing. So all this, and they want to call it global this, global that, climate this, like all that's a lie. They can't trick the plant kingdom. When I'm up there, I know every flower I see, and they all grow the same height. Everything looks the same every year, except the fires are burning way more. And the forests aren't all dead in California. Whoever's saying that's lying. They say, oh, they're dead everywhere. No, they're not. I'm up there all the time. So that's a lie too. Because, of course, pines would be flammable. But even if they are flammable, they're not burning. Even from all the chemical sprays all over California, they're not an accelerant, lest the trees would have been burning like crazy. They're not. If you've seen my Peggy Hall video, I have plenty of photographs of the whole forest dead, but not burned. And this giant, is it a banyan, or it's one of the ficus, banyan, I think. Why isn't it burned up? The building in front was toasted. The roof's gone. The window's gone. Everything's gone. It's the wrong flame. And that's my only answer to that. I can't describe what the flame's composition is. I just know there's microwave in there somewhere.
How do you think, and I know this is just going to be a hypothesis, but how do you think the microwave energy is sent down? So you said satellite. So it's like, because I've seen some pictures of images, but I don't know if they're accurate or not. And we have not seen any of those pictures from Maui.
We really can only guess at delivery systems, but they've been working on it 40 years or even more.
Yeah, you're right.
We don't know. We really don't know. And maybe there's 10 different types. I always say it's kind of like your blender in the kitchen. Frappe, stir, crunch. They just put it on a different setting and they get a different effect. We're just guessing.
Yeah.
I picked this photo out just an hour ago, not because of all the burned up stuff, but that's a white plastic fence.
I was looking at that.
It's melted a little and bent, but that's plastic. This kind of heat, it should have melted out and been gone. Also, portions of that street light, there's plastics in there, and they're not melted. I mean, you look hard, like, why is that plastic fence not gone and in a puddle on the ground? Now, I see this everywhere I go. And the vine on the fence, I don't know what the vine is. I can't tell. It should be gone. There's flames everywhere. Nope.
That's true.
Here's my picture from Redding, California. A whole fence line looked like this. And this was the worst picture, or best. Only the nails are on fire. Then the fire goes out between the cross members, and the wood drops on the ground, and It didn't burn out in the open between the nails. Well, fire
Oh,
doesn't do
wow.
that. It burns the post and drops the nails on the ground.
That's true.
I've also made the comment, the ground itself is on fire. Every post I see is burned to the ground. Sometimes these are in gravel or cement or in a field where there's just dirt, and you're not going to get that kind of burn pattern on the ground. The trees are burned from the inside out, and always at the ground level, there'll be a hole, sometimes 3-4 feet deep down into the ground where the trunk came out. And this is an extreme water lever. A creek's running right past it like a willow, and it's burned straight down with, and oxygen is not, and there's not a lot of oxygen that deep.
It's true.
But this is common. I'm finding it all the time. It's not just one anomaly. The whole fence line looks like this, and they never saw this. It's on a back road out of Redding, California, and they grab a lady, a backpacker, and they stuck her in jail. She's been in jail for
Yeah.
2 years.
Oh my gosh.
Like, I want the CAL FIRE investigators, tell me what's going on with this picture. They can't. They don't have a chance against me. Here's another one, of course. Many species, the ones in the middle are eucalyptus. I can tell that from their growth pattern. They should be gone. We had a fire in 1991 in Oakland and Berkeley, California. The eucalyptus burned to the ground. They're very volatile.
Yeah, they
water
do.
liquids inside will ignite. I went there because I had to do some tree work. These things burn down to low stumps or holes in the ground. I've not seen one leaf burn in 7 years. Any of the
Wow.
aftermath.
Is that paradise?
No, this is supposed to be Maui. That's what it said.
Oh,
Oh,
Maui.
and there's
Oh,
one of your garbage cans. I finally found
okay.
them. They can't hide them all
Oh,
because they don't have enough workers that follow directions. There's always somebody that gets sloppy and doesn't do exactly
yeah.
what they're told. So here you got
Thank
wood
God
to
for
the
that.
left. Yeah, the garbage can and the wood to the left, whatever that wood was for. Didn't burn up. Now this fire was horrific. And there's an anomaly itself. Only half that car burned. It's rare I see that. Tells me the fire department got here right now and they actually put that one out. I cannot understand why, because usually it's the whole car. And I believe the
Yeah,
windows are melted out, even though the back of the
they
car
are.
did not burn.
Wow.
So here's your house. It's missing, and all these
Mhm.
trees around it didn't burn up. Well, first of all,
Right
where'd
close
the fire
by.
come from? Where'd the fire come from to burn the house? It had to come through the forest. And
And
I
the
always
and the
say,
dry grass on the left
yep.
is
And
interesting.
when people say, where'd it come from? That's when I look up. I look up. Now everybody knows about this. These are the
Mhm.
umbrellas. This is synthetics. I mean, if you got flying embers, where's the holes? The
Yep.
flying embers is a lie. And if they are flying, they're not the normal fires we know of that will burn synthetics. There's something
Mhm.
else. So there's your palms, there's your synthetics. And I don't believe these things were made of asbestos. The building's gone. It's just metals. And these things didn't burn up. That one's been circulated around the internet, as well as the blue color
Yeah.
not burning. I can't expand on that. I haven't studied it enough. There might be some truth to the blue, maybe. This is what happens all the time. This is at Big Basin State Park in California. Just out of the park, there's some houses, and the redwoods were black. And I talked about that with Peggy Hall. Your cambial fluids are just inside the bark, and I believe that liquid is what's on fire and burns the trunks, but not the needles. Redwoods are fire retardant,
Oh
but
my gosh,
the
you're
needles
right.
burn up. All the needles burn up in a firestorm. I've backpacked plenty of coast ranges with redwoods. The needles are gone, and they sucker back and grow. So here's one of these canopies with a table under it. Where's those flying embers? Not a hole in it. It didn't burn.
Oh
And to
my
my left
goodness.
is a house that's missing, and a swimming pool that's plastic. It's unaffected, and I don't have that one here. Up north, there's Lake Sonoma in the Santa Rosa area. Same thing, Guerneville up there, redwoods. They're cooked on the outside, but they didn't burn the leaves.
Wow.
What kind of forest fire goes through the forest and forgets the number one thing that burns? The leaves. There's a Douglas fir in there too with a P2 written on it. But the biggest point of this photo is they're collecting all the plastics to take them off the properties. Multiple homes are gone. They put them together. They're going to bring a truck in there and steal everybody's basically evidence. Notice everything's
Wow.
plastic or wood that didn't burn.
Mhm.
I knew I'd catch them doing this because I have not seen the puddles of plastic. This is in
Oh,
green.
look at that.
Yeah, these melted a teeny bit, and I know there was little metal pieces here and there, but these things should have been gone. This is Greenville, where they burned about 1 million acres in the southern Cascade Range by Mount Lassen, the volcano. The whole town they took away, and I went up there and analyzed it twice now. These people are mad. Oh my God. And of course, they're not letting them rebuild. A few people get lucky. They
Oh
have
my
all
goodness.
these environmental impact reports on their little tiny lot to see if there's a protected worm or something. They're lying to keep them from rebuilding.
Yeah.
No, one lady, Cynthia, that spent $40,000 on fighting Sacramento to get permits just to rebuild her house.
Oh my
40,000.
goodness.
So they're making it really hard. They really are. And I don't know what else they're doing. This is the way you'll find your windows. Just over 2,500 degrees, they're melted, and perhaps they've gone up to even up to 3,000 to make them more liquidy. I don't know, but it starts
Wow.
at around 2,500. Every single car I've seen, no
And
exception. Between 6
wildfires
and
burn about
800.
14.
What's that?
Wildfires burn about 1,400.
1427. It's right on the computer.
Mhm.
And everybody says, well, the wood's wet. It doesn't burn. The trees are wet. They have water in them. Well,
Oh my gosh.
these people are just ignorant. Here's a trailer park or a mobile home park in our Delta in California. The mobile homes are gone. There's 21 of them missing. Here's the only wood on the property. That's the door
Wow.
frame. Walk up the steps, open the door, and walk in right there where the door frame is. Why did the wood not burn, especially on the door side where the coach is? This is dry wood. This is kindling, not a black mark. Shows you we're dealing with a weapon it's the wrong flame. It's not
Yeah.
butane, it's not propane, it's not acetylene, it's not a wood combustion fire we know of. This is something else. And the closest thing I come up with is microwave area. I don't know exactly, but I've had a fire in my microwave. Some tinfoil was in there
Yeah.
on my honey jar, and that scared the heck out of me.
I
But
remember that too. Yeah. Put
yeah,
something in that was
so
metal.
here's your wood. I want to see a fire person tell me that the wind was blowing the other direction.
Yeah, and look at the duster. The duster, that those fibers on the duster would
Yeah.
have gone up.
And I don't know why the bolts on the side didn't light up. I have no idea. I don't have all the answers, but this is damning, this photograph. It's just damning. This is, of
Mhm.
course, that same picture,
Yeah.
Santa Rosa. Santa Rosa, 4,700 homes gone. And every time you hear
700.
these fires came out of nowhere, they always say, oh, there's crazy winds here.
Mhm.
Just because we have forest fires, naturally, we don't have crazy winds all the time. But the last 7 years, it's always a crazy wind came out of nowhere.
Yeah, well, they have weather modification, which there's actually a company.
Yeah.
And if again, people, if you're listening still, which I hope you are, this is amazing information. Standtogetherhawaii.com, standtogetherhawaii.com, and go to Maui Forest Fires and scroll down, and you'll see the exact. There's actually a Weather Modification Act, and I think that one's the one for 1976, and I think the Direct Energies was for a certain reason why for 2016. I can't remember the exact ones, but those are all on that page, Maui Fires. Oh, and check this out. Wow, the rubber's gone.
Also, Matt woke me up about you're spraying in the sky with jets. We've been modifying the weather there's weather patents, tampering with our weather for over 100 years. It's right on the computer. Weather manipulation patents, right on the computer.
Wow.
Anybody can find it. Even the company that took out the patent for that year. So they've been tampering with our weather forever. This is the way I find every single tire. The rubber is completely gone, just some little black there, and it's crunching hard like carbon, I guess. And there's your steel belt, like a little slinky. Then I'll see this, maybe 1 out of 2 or 1 out of 300 tires, same areas. The ground's black, everything's burned. And like, what's going on here? So maybe somebody rolled it there. Great. I pick it up and look underneath. No, it's been sitting. There's a ring in the dirt or mud. It's been sitting there for at least a year or more. And it didn't burn. It didn't melt. It's not disfigured. It's like, what's going on? Then I see this polyester cord. I guess there's one steel cord on the perimeter that holds it on the tire, but not enough to make it combust. But every time I look at one, I have to look at the tire, and that's what it says, polyester. So right there, the metals are on fire. That's what's going on. It's one or the other. I've never seen a partially melted tire yet. I've seen over 1,000 tires, because you'll get to somebody's house that's a hoarder of cars and parts, and there'll be piles of tires. And I'm looking through them, and all of a sudden, there's one of these. It's unbelievable. So That one's really damning. That's all I've brought. I finished up with
I love it.
one of my
I
hidden
love it. I love it.
waterfalls.
Thank you
Nobody
so
knows who this
much,
is.
Robert.
Nobody's ever seen this waterfall.
Wow,
I
that's beautiful.
and that's Big Sur backcountry where a forest fire came through there twice in all my mountaineering days. I backpacked there. The forest fire burned all the leaves, all the twigs and branches, and left straight poles, perhaps 200 feet tall. Then they all grew back. Branches, everything came out, but the leaves burned. I've not seen, like I said, the eucalyptus and bay leaves. I've not seen any of those burn in all the aftermaths I've been to. Not one. Unless
Wow.
the tree happened to be hanging over a house and it's really close, some of those did burn. But other than that, out in the forest is just dead and brown or light shade of green. None of them burned up. I
Oh,
didn't get
wow.
into the water lovers, and I'm sure you have a lot of extreme water lovers over in the islands. The ones that you cut down like a willow tree here, it grows back. Every year, cut it down. Every month, cut it down. It grows back. Holds a ton of water. Those are the first to burn from the inside out. The leaves will still
Oh,
be
wow.
on, and inside where there's a ton of water. And some of these I will cut down for a living, and they will be a drinking fountain. I'm not kidding. There's so much pressure in the root system, it'll be pushing the water up 2 inches high out of the top of the stump where you could actually drink it, but don't. And these are the first to burn from the inside out. It makes no sense. But then your water is great as conductivity for these
Mhm.
electrical type fires. That's about all I've got to say right now. I just want people to stay vigilant, take pictures everywhere, watch what they're taking in, watch what they're taking out. And the company trucks, notice the people coming in to clean up. I've noticed they have brand new trucks, like off the showroom floor, whatever the company is, they have a fleet of these brand new trucks. And many of the people doing the work, I don't know what nationality they are. It's probably Scandinavian or over towards Russia, one of those other northern countries, not Mediterranean, not Latin, not French. Uh, I have no idea who they are,
Mhm.
but they're doing the cleanup with these brand new trucks in a fleet
Yeah.
of them. Even tree equipment when they got their stump grinders and their chippers and trucks, all those they're
Mhm.
brand new, and they came out of nowhere to do the cleanup here in California. Uh, and there's
Yeah.
probably
Robert, could
reasons.
you stop your screen share and let's just have a conversation more about this.
Yep.
So if you're watching this, thank you so much for all of your research on this and your visits to these hundreds of areas. I'm sure that not only was it shocking, but it probably was very heartbreaking as this whole thing is, Greenville. I mean, Paradise was my second job. I had a job up there as a real estate appraiser assistant, and I went up there for Christmas after the fires and saw the devastation, and it was so shocking because there was like a wooden fence that wasn't burned, but this house was demolished to ash just like you showed. And Greenville, I have my grandmother's buried there, and now Maui, which I live on Big Island, but all of these are close and dear to my heart. So I just want to thank you so much for the work that you're doing. And also, if you are watching this and you're wondering, I'm such an action person, I always love to give information and then give people actions. My action step for all of you is to contact first, go to standtogetherhawaii.com, go to Maui Fires. You will see the emails to all of our state representatives and all of our state senators. You can send them this information. We need to have this investigated. I think it's a long shot because I think that what already they have in place is what they have in place. But the other thing I would share with you guys who are watching this, be prepared for anything. Have a to-go bag in your car filled with water. I even have the small packs of water, food, extra pair of clothing, toilet paper, just stuff that you can just grab and go if you need to go right away and you can't get back to your house. So have that. And the other thing I want to share is that if you are listening to this and you're going, is this real? Oh my gosh, I can't believe this. Is this what is happening to my world right now? I woke up or discovered that my world was not what it was about 10 years ago. And I was arguing with my boyfriend at the time about 9/11. And I was like, no way. Because I remember where I was and I cried like a baby for days and was depressed. And I remember the moment that I got it because he said, Michelle, he said, I'll pay you $100 to watch 1 hour of Zeitgeist, which was a 3-hour long movie. And I watched the whole time and I cried like a baby. I was depressed for 3 days. I was like, what do we do? What do we do? And there was nothing to do at the time because nothing was happening. So if you're there and you're like, oh my gosh, this is real, you're not alone. This is real. We are under attack. They have attacked Maui. They have murdered our people. They have murdered our keiki and our ohana. And the Hawaiians, they're not even a part of the United States. This is an occupied territory. And Queen Liliuokalani had a red ribbon letter that literally brings down any mortgage, anything that the United Corporation has put in place. That letter takes down. I don't know how it can work. I don't know if the Hawaii Kingdom can come back. I don't know any of this. I don't know if standing up is going to work, but I just know that for myself, for me, I have to try and do something and just make a stink about it and do these videos as best as I can and help, let our representatives know we know what you're doing. Like Governor Green, who, what was it, like days after the fire, his statement is, I'm looking for ways for the state to acquire the land for workforce housing. The other place that the workforce was when the financial officer of Maui, who's on the board for AI and how to bring AI into government structures and government systems, and he says for workforce productivity. So what does workforce mean? In my opinion, it means enslavement. And the reason why they're burning all of these rural houses, rural areas, is to get people into these smart cities, which Maui was already set up. I think a month ago, the governor said in the UN, at the UN, United Nations, was that he wants, Maui's going to be the first smart city. Lahaina was the key. Lahaina was the first what is it? Anyway, main entrance to Maui, to the Hawaii Islands. That was Lahaina. So she has been destroyed, attacked, and these people were murdered. So contact our representatives, contact our senators, tell them this is not okay. We know what's happening and we want this to stop now. We want the governor's emergency proclamation that suspended all 7 laws to be done, be gone. We want that ended. We want the laws put back in place because this is a constitution, and they cannot. What they're doing is a dictatorship, and what they're doing is literally taking over without any argument from our legislative body. So our legislators need to step the fuck up. They need to step up and make a stand for the people right now, because we don't know who else is going to. So I just wanted to say that. And I also want to say that there is a higher power. This is a spiritual warfare between good and evil. Get a new relationship or a stronger relationship with your higher power, with God, with Source, and find that peace in your heart with all people. If you are arguing with somebody, get over it, make peace, because this is a spiritual warfare and we need to be strong in our hearts. So if you are in any type of disagreement with somebody, make peace in your heart with yourself. Forgive yourself and forgive others right now, because we need each one of us to stand in our strength and in love, because love is way more powerful than fear and way more powerful than what they have. And that's what I wanted to say. Robert, thank you so much for your time and your courage to go there and take these pictures and speak your truth. I so appreciate you.
I couldn't sit there idle. I just there was a calling for me that I never knew. I never went to college. I never learned anything in that direction. I've always had a scientific book in my hand. It was my nerdy fun that I had. I was up there, might as well learn everything I can while I'm out there. So this was really blatant to me, and I guess I was called upon to see this through. So I have to do something, and I've done a lot of videos now, and I guess they're circulating worldwide. There's a few points that people, besides staying vigilant and watch everything, is your fire insurance people, the farmers and all State Farm and all that. I believe in my heart the people at the top of each one of those companies knows what's going on. Mm-hmm. If they can approach some of these fires, insurance companies and talk to them, show them pictures, work on a lot of those too. That's an area that I'm going to do here in the States. I'm going to bring, I've already talked to one, bring them the evidence and see if we can strike a nerve there somehow. We have to fight this at every level we can because they own the military. The billionaires own the government, and they're that 1% is ruling the planet. Less than 1%. We have to group up together and make a stand at any level we can. We have to do something.
I love it. You know what? I didn't even think about that. If you're in Lahaina and you're watching this, if you're, or you know somebody who has their house burnt, I love that. Send this video, this information, go to standtogetherhawaii.com. I'm going to add some more information on there. That has it has direct energy weapon information, weather modification information, and call the insurance company and talk to the head honcho and give them this information. That's actually really, really true, because if they can prove to the insurance companies that this was a direct, a man-made thing, then they actually get their insurance. If it's God, which is actually really interesting, because this is a war, spiritual warfare, and they're trying to blame it on God, even though they're murdering and destroying our property, murdering our people and destroying our property. So that is a great action to take, and great advice.
Yeah, it's actually, I hate to say it, but it's been World War III since at least 2001. And I've heard from some real smart historians that the enemy's never been overseas. The enemy's always been the billionaires orchestrating every war since at least Napoleon.
Yes.
Every war, profiting on both sides of the war and separating us into red and blue and right wing and left wing. They've made these two groups and they hold the prize. They've started everything, the billionaires, I call them.
Yes.
So we got to do what we can and help everybody you can. Help your neighbor, get your to-go bags, do whatever you can at your level.
Absolutely. And I love that you said that, because they've funded, both sides of the war. Ford company was making tanks and sending them to Germany to fight Americans.
That's right.
And Rockefeller, he's actually the one that created the medical system, the medical industry, and the medical schools. And what happened was he needed more workers. So he actually also created the schooling system, and that's where that was going. Was the whole schooling system is designed to create factory workers. Every hour the bell rings, and you're being told when you can go to the bathroom and when you can eat and all of this stuff. But my point was, with the medical system, was that whole system is designed to keep you sick, because when you're sick and you have diseases, that gives them more money. It's like the whole COVID thing. They didn't talk about your immune system and how to boost your immune system and how to keep your body healthy. They talked about a symptom. So it's like, if you're watching this, please just start to ask yourself, when do you ask questions? When do you look at things?
That's right.
What's that?
That's right. And they're attacking us in at least 10 different directions right now, and they're winning in all 10. And some of them you already know. But anyway, I'm going to stick to what I know, what my strong suit. I'll let other people talk about these other categories. There's plenty of them right now.
There's plenty of them right now. So
we need to hope and pray and bond together, help everybody in need, get through this.
And this is prophesied. I was asking a friend of mine who's helping me learn more about the systems that we're in, and he said, Michelle, this is biblical. Because I said, are we going to be okay? Are we going to win? What's up with Maui? And he said, this is biblical, what's happening right now. And it is going to be really a struggle, but it's a spiritual warfare for your own soul. So that's also why it has to be hard, because you have to get out of everything that makes you comfortable. And then when are you going to turn to a higher power? When are you going to turn to something that's greater than yourself and find your own inner strength through that? So this is a game. I really think, in my opinion, that this world is a simulation, because our souls are eternal. This body only stays here 70, 80, 90, 100 years if we're lucky. And then we move on. Our spirit, our soul moves on. So what we do here, are we doing what we can to help other people? And are we also finding our own spiritual growth and saying yes to forgiveness and yes to love and yes to inner strength and doing what's right versus doing what's easy? So Robert, again, I just want to say so much mahalo from the Big Island and from Hawaii and from Maui for just taking the time to go through those pictures. I know that that took a while for you to do, and I just really, really appreciate you.
And
You're amazing.
share this as much as you can, because I don't know if I'm going to do a second one for anybody, even Peggy Hall. I've been denying many of them, and I just felt good about you. So this might be the only one I do. I think a lot of people are doing plenty of videos on the ground in Maui, so you really don't need my help. I think there's plenty of people that are taking the gist of it, and they're running with it, and I like seeing that. Everybody else, you can't have a captain, you can't have a leader. They take down leaders like Kennedy, Martin Luther King, and whoever else. Everybody has to be a leader together. We have to be a one giant team, because they'll stop the leader right away. That's what they do.
Yeah.
So, and we try to get the information out to everybody.
Well, this will be done within the hour. I'm just gonna, as soon as it's done rendering, I'm gonna send it out, and just sending you so much love and inner strength, and sending you lots and lots of aloha.
Thank you.
And I think on your end, you're the one who has to press stop on the recording, because I have you as the host.